What if everything we have been taught about hiding our pay was wrong? What if a corporation does better with pay transparency than secrecy? Will we ever be able to wear our pay on our foreheads? This could unite us as a community at the workplace, coming together as one. You know, we gotta fight for our pay that we so truly deserve. This is our fight. We have the right to stand up for ourselves, stick it to the big man, and let's do this. Viva la revolution, you guys. Let's go. Oh, my boss is watching. Shit. Oof. It's definitely not you, it's me. I've always been the curious one to break the chain and find out if this is actually good or bad for a company. So stay tuned and let me explain. Based on my findings, there are a lot of unknowns that revolve around this topic because, well, there's only quite a few companies that are following suit. Back in the day, Whole Foods, they were one of the first companies to implement transparency back in 1986. More recently, Buffer and SumAll joined the crew. Buffer is more interesting too because they actually post employee salaries on their website. They found some unexpected challenges along the way after their launch, but also some surprising benefits. For one, at Buffer, even though they were as generous as possible, there were some salary changes that were put in place based on location and growth. So they had to change their strategy a couple times to accommodate for the cost of living and promotions and raises. And at SumAll, instead of discussing salaries every quarter or year, these tough conversations are ongoing. This gave hiring managers more freedom as they felt more relieved to open up to new hires on day one. This also created an opportunity to fight bad hiring practices. Both companies agreed that transparency has dramatically narrowed the wage gap and removed the potential for any discrimination. But being devil's advocate, I was always wondering, and I want to figure out what is holding up and why a company is so against pay transparency. In 2016, Harvard Business Review conducted a study and released an article against the case, and the evidence gathered points to transparency causing three costly responses. One, employees who suddenly discovered that they are getting underpaid, well, they become more dissatisfied with their employer and more likely to leave and depart. Two, employees reduced their productivity when consistently reminded of what they perceive as unfair rewards compared to their peers. And three, when they were suddenly made aware of their peers' high pay, they were more than likely to take up politicking for a change in their favor. So what does that say about corporate America? Are corporations actually doing the right thing by maintaining secrecy? We were always taught as kids to never share our pay as we grew older. But now we find out it's very clear that America is more comfortable keeping it that way, regardless of what the law says.
Openness remains the only way to ensure fairness. Now, I realize that letting people know what you make might feel uncomfortable, but isn't it less uncomfortable than always wondering if you're being discriminated against? Or if your wife or your daughter or your sister is being paid unfairly?
The assumption is that all hell will break loose if anyone finds out that employees are discussing their pay amongst each other. But contrary to that assumption, we're actually protected by Title 29, Chapter 7, Subchapter 2 of the NLRA. It pretty much explains that we're allowed to talk about the things that matter to us most between our coworkers at work.
As a boss, I want people to know we see you, we hear you, we know that you you want to know what other people are making, but sometimes people don't understand from a boss's standpoint why you don't want them to talk about it, because then you got to deal with 6, 7, 8 other people stomping their feet, or the fear of losing your employees because somebody else makes more, which is something that has happened to me. But do you have to put a number on what you can do to improve? I think there's different levels of transparency. Like in my kitchen staff, some of them know that other ones make more than the other one, but they don't know how much more. But I give, as their boss, I give them, hey, this is how you can make more money. This is how that person made more money. But as far as knowing the actual number, I don't think they need to know that, because then it creates jealousy and competition in an unfair way.
This is Miss Taryn. Oh boy, she is an expert in culinary arts, general managing the City Tavern, located here in Salisbury, North Carolina. So come visit us, dudes. And next to her is John. Well, John's just my coworker. He's kind of a dick.
If the guy next to me is making more money, I know how much he makes. I can ask him questions of what he did to make that money, so I can work harder to make the same money he did. But I'm also an older generation of people to where I'll work harder to make more money, and I'll learn what someone else did so I can make what they make. I don't expect it to be handed to me. So I understand you come in and you have, I've been here a year, you've been here 10 years, you should make more money than I do. What steps do you take to make the money you did? So I can follow in footsteps and get more education, learn more to make more money. So I don't want to be mediocre and just make the same pay the rest of my life and have the same life. If you know what other people in your plant make, and you can ask them questions about what they did to get there. Because if you don't ask them questions how to get there, you don't know yourself. You're just going to work and doing what you think they expect, what you think they work, or you think you're working hard, and you find out that, oh, this guy actually took night classes, or he went online and found classes he could take that help his education portfolio to raise him up and so he can make more money. Those are things I want to know so I can get in the same boat they are. But if you don't know that, you don't know what to do, so you get stuck making these smaller raises where you've been making bigger raises by putting a little bit extra work in different areas than what you already do.
Luckily, I have these great friends who back me up when I say this experience has definitely brought us closer, and now we can hold each other more accountable at work. But before... Dude! Stop! My doggy. He wants to play. Get out of here! Sorry, doggy. Luckily, I have these amazing friends who back me up when I say this has definitely brought us closer as a team. And now we can use that new relationship at work to hold each other more accountable for the little things, and thus being more productive even more. Productivity is the key here, I guess. But before approaching your supervisors, make sure you go in with an open mind and expect any backlash. Success is not guaranteed, and results will vary depending on your work culture.
What I think is cool is you're willing to go out and talk about this, what people are scared to talk about, and stand up and say, hey, this is how things should be. This is what's going on. This is what I found in other experts, other companies, and how it benefits the companies. So I think that's pretty awesome. For me,
I mean, I never look at people for pay. I look at people for people. The only thing that really changed was like, oh, he's willing to talk about this, like, but I felt like you were talking to us about it as friends, not as like...
It's not about money. It's about living a good life and helping other people and enjoying yourself.
Right.
And you do that very well. You don't ever come off across as a person that has, oh, I have this and you don't. They come across a person of, hey, let's go have fun, let's enjoy life, you know.
Yeah. Or I have this, let's share it.
Thanks, you guys. You've been perfect examples of people who understand that transparency alludes to a happier life. And this happiness can definitely help you at work while incentivizing employees to be more productive while aiming for a much more meaningful goal for the company and themselves.